It is finally April and I'm bringing you in the greenhouse to share with you the 10 crops that I'm planting in April and 3 that are my no-go. I'm pretty excited to be in the greenhouse with you. Since I started this channel late last year, I haven't really brought you in the greenhouse. The greenhouse has been a serious struggle for me on figuring out how to greenhouse grow. I've kind of talked with you a few times in my videos, and I was the same way, but everybody thinks the greenhouse is going to be the salvation. It's going to make gardening easier, when actually it makes it a lot harder. You got to figure out how to use a greenhouse, of course, depending on the climate you're in. So my first year in the greenhouse, I thought I could plant everything. Turns out, in western Colorado, we go from cold to damn. And if you haven't had a greenhouse, even a basic greenhouse like this one, when it's 75 degrees outside, it's up to 100 degrees in the greenhouse. So last year, I decided, and had a little bit of, notice I say a little bit of success. I grew my 1-gallon pots in here. I had a hydroponic set up back here, which I didn't like. Grew some jalapenos over here, and let me show you. It's a mess right now, but had the tower garden in here. We got to clean that up. So the other day, my son spent a bunch of time pulling everything out of here. Yesterday, I spent the time cleaning everything out of here. And what we're going to attempt to do this year is probably use the greenhouse for what it should have been used for in the first place, and that's starting seeds, getting everything going a little bit early to extend the garden. And then there's a few crops that a lot of people can start right now. I can't. And I'm going to use the greenhouse by putting them in grow bags mid-season and being able to bring them in to extend my season on the end. To sum it up, I'm going to use the greenhouse to extend my season. Okay, now to my 10 crops. The first one has been a serious challenge for me for many years. I honestly think I've only gotten a good harvest out of it maybe 1 year. And that was the year that my house next door, I did a garden in the front yard, which is kind of unconventional. I put a little chicken wire fence over on the side, which just happened to be under a tree that gave it enough shade. And I got a decent harvest out of it. And that crop is peas. I absolutely love peas, but I just haven't had any luck with them. I think part of the reason is I never took the time to learn how to plant them at the proper time. I love peas, but it gets so hot so fast here in western Colorado, I've never had luck with them. So this year we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to plant our peas April 1st. I'm skeptical. So what I'm going to do different here is first, I'm going to start them April 1st. It still gets really cold here at night, but we're going to try it anyway. I'm also going to start some in the greenhouse just to kind of see how the germination rate changes. 2, I'm trying a new method. I'm going to soak my seeds. I've seen some of the people that I trust talk a lot about soaking the seeds for peas, and it helps. 3, I've got shade cloth that I can drape from the top of the trellis down to the front of the bed when it gets too hot. I'm going to do everything I can to grow these peas. This year, I'm doing the regular peas, Lincoln and Super Snappy. And because I hate shelling the peas, we're going to do Oregon Sugar Pod 2s. Let's run out to the bed and we'll go through the tricks. Okay, this is the bed we're going to put the Lincoln peas in. We're going to start by pulling all my mulch that I had from last year. We're going to pull it back. The bed here behind me is what faces south. So I'm going to do a whole row of peas back here. We're going to put a trellis in, and then in front of it, we're going to put spinach and lettuce. I've got a bed next to me, just like this one, that we're going to put the sugar snap peas in. But let's focus on the Lincoln. So pull back all the mulch, move my little guardian out of the way. Then we're just going to slide in a trellis behind it and do a row. And of course, we're going to hit it with blood meal and bone meal. Now, you can already kind of see, let me bring it down here. You can already see the sinkage that we've had just from last year to this year. And this is, what, 4 years old this bed is. So all I'm going to do is just in this row where I know I'm going to do my peas, I'm going to do a little bit of the blood meal. I'm not going to do a lot. I'm going to do more bone meal. Just what I've found over the years works for me. Then I'm just going to mix in, give it a light mix in. We're about to top off this bed with some more of the third mix. 1/3 compost, 1/3 peat moss, 1/3 perlite. Let's move the Guardian out of the way. Check out what's left in here. I had a big old sunflower inside here. Peas like a light fluffy soil. They can also handle the frosts. So that's why we're trying to do it now. My last projected frost date, of course, is April 20th. I don't have much faith in that. It can frost here a lot later. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than normal, and we're going to do it in my fluffy soil mix. Okay, I grabbed just an old trellis that I had from last year for cucumbers. Then we're just going to make a trench. Now like I said, I'm going to go a little bit deeper than what they recommend because it still gets really cold here. And then I'm going to go about 1 to 2 inches. I mean, the more you can get in an area, the better, because it takes a lot. Even that year that I told you that I feel like I did okay, still it felt like when I picked them all, I was like, come on, man, that's not a lot of peas. You don't realize until you grow them just how many pea pods are in a bag of frozen peas. So you want to get a bunch of them in here. And you can always thin them out if they get too close together. But we're just going to go right down the line, every 1 to 2 inches, and we're going to get them in there. Then you just want to water it in real good. Make sure everything's nice and soaked, and get those seeds down in the soil. So let's cross our fingers and see if I can be successful at peas and actually get enough peas to make some meals. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, next one that we have to talk about that is essential for me to plant this time of year is carrots. So I've got multiple carrots that I'm planting this year. Let's run over to the square foot garden. I've already planted them this year, so I'm just going to kind of show you a trick about carrots, and don't worry, we're not going to go through planting each one of these. Okay, out at the square foot garden, I just wanted to show you a couple tricks. I used to never have luck with carrots until I started doing this. You'll see here, and let's see if we can get you around. You'll see a couple over there in the square foot gardens. Carrots don't like to be planted deep. They like a light, fluffy soil. Think about when that carrot, it's pushing its way down through the soil. If it encounters anything, it's going to give you a funky shaped carrot. Use a peat or cocoa coir base mixed, so it's nice and soft and fluffy so that carrot can push down. Now I just planted these carrots 2 days ago, but this was leftover stuff we had from when we did the chicken coop. Notice how moist the soil stayed because this board was on here. All you want to do is go through and just make a slight impression with your finger, put the carrot seeds in there, water it in really good, and then put you a little square of wood over there. Then usually 1 to 2 weeks tops, you're going to start to see germination. Carrots are also one of those things that in my experience, the seeds don't last as long as, say, tomatoes, that kind of thing. So you may want to get a fresh pack when you do it. Just go through. In the square foot garden, you can do 16 of them in there. And I did different kinds. Short and sweet over here. Funny little story about the fingerling is back when I told the original story about the square foot gardening I did 20 years ago. The fingerling was the little carrots that I got a ton of that I was so proud of. Everything else that I've got on this list, I think we'll do right here from the greenhouse. You've seen the square foot gardens. That's where I'm planting them at. There's not a whole lot of tricks to the rest of these. We'll just talk about them inside here. So, cold weather is the time to grow your leafy greens. So next on my list, lettuce. You want to get that lettuce started now. Get it started early, let it grow in the cold climate, because once it gets warm outside, that lettuce is going to bolt. I usually don't have a whole lot of luck here, so I'm pushing it back a little bit. That's why I'm starting it now where I'm at, because I've waited a little bit longer, closer to that frost date, and I got too hot too fast. The lettuce bolted and it sucked. The tower garden, aeroponic garden, has been the best way that I've ever grown lettuce, and we'll be doing that again this year too. Stay tuned and I'll show you why. Okay, and running right with lettuce is spinach. Like I said, leafy greens. Try and get it in as early as you can and go for it. Depending on your climate, you may be more fortunate than I am. But here, I'm going to try to get it in early this year because it gets hot so fast. So spinach, get that in as fast as you can. I'm going to plant lettuce and spinach in front of where we just did the peas. Okay, fifth on the list, sticking with leafy greens, kale. Get those kale in the ground. Now, kale isn't as sensitive to the bolting as your lettuce is, but it does like the cooler weather, so get it in as early as possible. Then let's talk about one of my favorite, onions. I've got a video on here all about growing onions, so check that out. It's definitely time you can get those onion seeds in the ground. I always recommend starting them inside in trays, which we'll show you back here. But you can go ahead and get them in the ground right now and go for it. Okay, 7. I hope you've been chitting your potatoes. Potatoes can go in the ground right now. They can handle it a lot cooler. I do my potatoes in raised bed gardening, so my soil's a lot different. I don't put them in the ground. So if you're doing deep raised bed gardening, the way that works for me, I mean, I've seen all the different things out there about plant it as it grows up, cover it with more soil. I tried that one year, didn't really seem to do much. What works best for me is dig it deep, stick it down there, and let that thing grow through the soil. That's been the best harvest that I've ever had. All right, number 8. I'm not that adventurous of a person, but last year I tried Swiss chard, and I actually liked it. So number 8, Swiss chard. Swiss chard is one of those things too that you get in the ground. It can handle the heat, it can grow all year, and if you use the cut and come again, it can feed you all year, and it can get giant. So even though I've got some of that out there in the square foot garden, we're going to put it in some of the regular garden beds too and see how big we can make it. Number 9, celery. If you grow like I do in raised bed gardens, it's great for celery. Get that celery in. Celery takes a long time. It's 100 to 120 days. So get it in there now so you get that celery going. And then you can dip it in peanut butter by the end of summer. And then 10th, I'm going to throw in a number 10 here that I haven't grown before. Bok choy. This is going to be my first year for bok choy. So I've done a bunch of studying on bok choy. And I'm going to make bok choy the 10th thing that I'm planting this year. Okay, now I told you at the beginning of the video, I'm going to give you 3 things that I'm definitely not planting. Then after that, we'll jump over and take a look at some of these starts that I've got going on. 3 things that I am not planting and probably never will. Beets. I can't stand beets. I can't stand radishes. And I really don't like arugula. So they don't have a spot in my garden any year. Okay, now I've been doing my updates on my starts every Wednesday. But let's take a look at these starts. I brought them out here because I'm going to have to remove some of them and get them planted today or tomorrow. So I'm not going to have them here for Wednesday's update video. So if you look here, I don't know if you can tell if the camera really does it justice. The main takeaways I've got between the Burpee seed starting mix that's cocoa coir based and my 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 peat moss, perlite, compost is that the tomatoes, the spinach, and even the lettuce to a degree now that I'm looking at it is a lot bigger, thicker, and to me comes off a whole lot healthier. Even some of these other tomato varieties in here, not by much, but are a little bit bigger. Peppers, not a whole lot of difference yet, and we're going to leave those in here. Onions seem to be doing the same no matter what. So I've got a couple lettuce that I got to separate, some spinach starts. I told you we were going to put Swiss chard out there, but overall I think that we're safe saying you can start in whichever mix you want. It's going to work. For whatever reason this year, the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 mix is outperforming, but I don't think that you're going to go wrong using either mix. So use what's right for you. This was just a test to kind of show you what worked for me this year. Hopefully you enjoyed being out here in the greenhouse for the first time this year, because I'm enjoying it. And you can see over here on this side, I've got all the humidity domes set up. I do have a nice heat mat under there. But we're going to play around with what I can actually start inside the greenhouse. Can I start tomato seeds? Can I start pepper seeds? The way it's supposed to work, now I say supposed to because I'm no scientist, but the way it's supposed to work is I'm zone 7A. Inside of a greenhouse like this, it's supposed to raise you up a zone, so 8A. Going inside of another covering like this is supposed to raise you another one for 9A. So let's just test it and find out. We don't have anything to lose. I told you how much I like my 4-inch trays. So this year, I came ready. I got lots of 4-inch trays. We're going to be doing lots of seed starting this year, lots of planting. Hopefully you stick with me and we'll grow together. In the comments below, tell me what you want to see grown, what you want to see started, and since we still have nights in the 20s here, let me know what you want to see if we can get started in an unheated greenhouse. Well, that's all I got for today's video. It's April. It's time to start seeds. Let's grow together. See you next episode.